Hey, so there's another mask-off moment for the people over at MSNBC. You want to hear what it was? Here it is.
I mean, just it is so anti-Semitic, and of course they've slotted George Soros in there, trying to make the country like browner and blacker. What's the best way for people to push back on that lie?
You take this heinous platform and you make the Republicans own it. I want to say it again. Make the Republicans own it. Every Republican politician, every Republican candidate, ask them about it. Make them, because they can't run from it because it's part of who they are at this point, as disgusting as that is. But make it the Republican replacement theory. Mainstream it, because this is the way you have to scare. We don't have the economy on our side as Democrats. So you have to scare the bejeezus out of people. The way to scare that is say, this replacement theory, this is not just coming from some dark corner of the web. This is the Republican platform. Make them own it. And if Democrats run from this fist fight, I know in the previous segment, Eugene Daniels, he talked about the president not wanting to call out names. Call out Tucker Carlson. Call out the politicians and make them own it. This is a Republican platform. Is the racist Republican replacement theory.
So I don't know if you heard what he said. He said the Democrats can't run on anything, so they have to scare the hell out of the electorate. This is called The Quiet Part Out Loud with Donnie Deutsch. Remember when Donnie Deutsch had a show on MSNBC? It was called The Big Idea. Is this one of Donnie's big ideas? To use fear as a tactic? Wow, Donnie. Let's run that one up the flagpole, straight to Morning Joe Ball. Let's see what he has to say. And by the way, Morning Joe Ball, they always say demographics is destiny. That's what you've heard them say, that demographics is destiny. That's what they've been saying. And can you believe that anybody took that phrase wrong when he and Morning Micah said it over and over and over and over again? That demographics is destiny, that someone would misinterpret that as replacement theory? By the way, what does demographic is destiny even mean, by the way? It sounds like a fancy way to say race is destiny. That's what I used to call dog whistle for racists.
Yeah.
But that's him saying the quiet part out loud. And let's remember what he's. So I'll play. Remember when he said this? This is another time when he said the quiet part out loud.
Joe, I'm going to take it one step further, because this is how dangerous socialism. I find Donald Trump reprehensible as a human being, but a socialist candidate is more dangerous to this country as far as the strength and well-being of our country than Donald Trump. I would vote for Donald Trump, a despicable human being.
No, you won't.
So there's Donnie Deutsch saying he would vote for Donald Trump if Bernie Sanders. So if you're going to get health care, he's going to vote for Donald Trump. I like Morning Joe when listen to him.
Let me tell you
Stop
something.
yourself.
Let me correct myself. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. You always help myself.
You will never vote for a bigot, a guy that's made bigoted statements for the past 3 years.
Joe, thank you for correcting me. I stand corrected that. I will.
So there's Joe, Morning Joe Ball saying, hey, Donnie, can you maybe not let the thing we secretly all think fall out of your face on my fucking TV show? And then, of course, Donnie Deutsch completely rolled over for Joe Scarborough because Joe Scarborough has the alpha hair in this situation. And that's why he was able to dominate Donnie German.
You see how the dominant hair?
You see how the dominant hair? That's right. It's all about the dominant hair. So I'm going to play that again for you.
I mean, it is so anti-Semitic. And of course, they've slotted George Soros in there, trying to make the country like browner and blacker. What's the best way for people to push back on that lie?
You take this heinous platform and you make the Republicans own it. I want to say it again. Make the
Wait a minute.
I mean, it is so anti-Semitic. And of course, they've slotted George Soros in there, trying to make the country like browner and blacker. What's the best way for people to push back on them?
Trying to make, so he's saying that they're trying to smear the Democrats by saying that the Democrats are trying to make the country browner and blacker. Is that what he's saying to you? Is that what you get, Kurt?
enough of the Soros bashing. It's anti-Semitic. The guy that knocked on doors giving summons to Jews for the Jews rock with the Nazis. Are you kidding?
So let's listen to him.
A lie.
You take this heinous platform and you make the Republicans own it. I want to say it again. Make the Republicans own it. Every Republican politician, every Republican candidate, ask them about it. Make it because they can't run from it because it's part of who they are at this point, as disgusting as that is. But make it the Republican replacement theory. Mainstream it because this is the way you have to scare. We don't have the economy on our side as Democrats, so you have to scare the bejeezus out of people. The way to scare that
is to say that they're doing the replacement theory.
You know, this replacement theory. This is not just coming from some dark corner.
So the way we scare them. There it is. He just says it out loud.
But no wonder Morning Joe had to check him.
Yeah.
He's out of control, Donnie Deutsch.
Donnie Deutsch. He's unleashed.
The ideas are too big to fit in his head. They have to come out his mouth.
Yeah. And so now I'm going to show you the Democrats doing the replacement theory.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Does that sound like Tucker Carlson to you? Does to me.
Boy, Jimmy, who knew back then that you would need those extra border guards to put a stop to the school shootings? The cops just stand outside and won't fix.
Yep, who knew? And now here's Hillary Clinton.
Because we have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he put
It's a little too loud.
the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere.
What are called super predators? Like she said that she read that in a scientific journal.
Exactly.
About this new breed of kids that have no mind or conscience.
That's right. So that's called dehumanizing another human being. So then you can then lock them up at much higher rates than white people.
But they've been healing.
But they've been healing.
They've been placed in a prison without rights or privileges to heal.
To heal.
Well, we could talk about how they got that way. That's nice of her to say.
Yeah, that's nice.
At some point, we could bring it up.
It's very big of you. Here's Bernie Sanders being asked about replacement theory. Here's what he says.
And what you said about being a democratic socialist is a more international view. But I think if you take global poverty that seriously, it leads you to conclusions that in the US are considered out of political bounds. Things like sharply raising the level of immigration we permit, even up to a level of open borders, about sharply increasing the amount of foreign aid. Open borders.
That's a Koch brothers proposal. The
Really?
idea, of course. I mean, that's a right-wing proposal which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state. And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. if you believe in a nation state, or in a country called the United States, or UK, or Denmark, or any other country, you have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them.
Replace American workers.
I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. You know what youth unemployment in the United States of America today? If you're white, a white kid, high school graduate, 33%, a Hispanic, 36%, African American, 51%. You think we should open the borders and bring in a lot of low-wage workers? Or do you think maybe we should try to get jobs for those kids? So I think from a moral responsibility, we've got to work with the rest of the industrialized world to address the problems of international poverty. But you don't do that by making people in this country even poorer.
So then what are the responsibilities we have? If that kind of zero-sum calculation, right, between someone who is poor by US standards, but is quite well off by, say, Malaysian standards, redounds so easily to the benefit of the person in the US, and how do we think about that responsibility? I guess I'm asking here for, I agree, you have a nation-state structure. You always are going to. The politics don't allow anything else. But I guess philosophically the question is, how do you weight it? How do you think about what the foreign aid budget would be? How do you think about poverty abroad?
And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, again, as a United States Senator from Vermont, my first obligation, frankly, is to make certain that kids in my state and kids all over this country have the ability to go to college, which is why I am supporting tuition-free public colleges and universities. I believe we should create millions of jobs rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure and ask the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. I believe we should raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour so people in this country are not living in poverty. And I think we end the disgrace of some 20% of our kids living in poverty in America. Now, how do you do that? What you do that is understand there's been a huge redistribution of wealth in the last 30 years from the middle class to the top 1/10 of 1%. Now, the other thing that you understand globally is you have horrendous imbalance in terms of wealth in the world. As I mentioned earlier, the top 1% will own more than the bottom 99% in a year or so. That's absurd. And that takes you to programs like the IMF and so forth and so on. But I think what we need to be doing as a global economy is making sure that people in poor countries have decent paying jobs, have education.
We can't do that in our country.
Nutrition for their people. That is a moral responsibility. But you don't do that, as some would suggest, by lowering the standard of American workers, which has already gone down very significantly.
I like Ezra Klein. He's like, but okay, what if I hate the American worker and look down on them and I don't care about them and I think it's fine to lower them to Malaysian standards?
I don't get. So that, to me, that sounded a lot like Bernie Sanders. Sounded a lot like Tucker Carlson right there. I don't know. To you, I don't know. To me, kind of did. Isn't that the problem?
It's amazing.
What? Go ahead.
It's amazing to watch that turnaround because their whole principle is there's these people I hate, and the important thing is the people I hate feel bad. So even if something's true, I'm not going to say it because you're strengthening the bad people.
Right.
That's what it's all based on. Is the most petty, like classist, elitist. It really sucks, man. It's amazing. Bernie went back on this, didn't he?
I don't know. I don't know if he went back on this or not. But so all I know is that's all I heard from Democrats my whole life up until 5 minutes ago. All of a sudden, everybody decided that if you talked like Bernie or Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton, that you were the worst person in the world, you were a white supremacist, racist, and you should be investigated and maybe put in jail. That's what people say. But I'm like, well, isn't that what Bernie and the Clintons have been saying their whole fucking life?
Are they still on PayPal?
Right. Great replacement. Anyway.
Well, the thing is, clearly, the argument is not if there's a great replacement theory. I guess they're trying to be deceptive, but they're saying is we're saying it's good and you're saying it's bad, and that's what the debate is. Not about whether demographics are destiny, which by the way is really stupid of a thing to say.
Right. Well, yes, they do like to say demographics is destiny, which sounds like a nice way to say. What is that? Does that sound like a nice way to say replacement theory?
It sounds like race is like once these race. Harry Condabolo from what's his name show. He has our special. I remember waiting for 2048 when white people will be the minority. They were saying how great this was going to be for a long time. Now, I don't really give a shit about the color makeup of America, but all of them were talking and crowing about it like, aren't you going to hate that? Crazy Trump. Like, so they're antagonized. These people aren't mad because they heard Tucker Carlson. They're mad because they heard these. I think that shooter, by the way, never made any mention of being a Tucker Carlson fan. There's no evidence he ever watched Tucker Carlson.
So, yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, you're right. I remember comedians would there was a time, there was a period of time there where it became common for comedians to say those kind of things like, "Oh, we're going to replace you white people." Remember that? That was
and I was like, good. I was like,
go ahead.
We already had the best years of America owning. If you want to take over, now that we ruined this car, go ahead.
White people have ruined this country.
Hey, take the wheel. We drove all night.
Take the wheel. Here, we're doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles on June 11th, and then we're going to Chicago, Sacramento, and San Diego on July 16th for the taping of my new special. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets. See you there.